average. I'm sick of being mortal, I'm about to be a savage. I see a lot of things that I want, I will have them. I got a new mindset that I just established. I'll march through the cold with the nails on the pavement. I'll shovel that coal just to get out the basement. My story will be told, helping others make changes. I'll be so bold, they will watch in amazement.
Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it. Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it.
Hello everyone. So welcome to Bulldog Matt, and we have Matt here with me again. So hello Matt, how are you?
I'm grand. How are you doing, Shubham? Welcome, everyone.
So this time we are like diving in some new topics. In the previous videos, Matt actually mentioned about the hormones and all. So today I would like Matt to actually talk about hormones, how they work, how we can regulate them, and all that. So Matt, if you can like start explaining how much, like how many of them there are, and what we can like we should know about those.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Shubham. It is probably more important now than almost ever in any episode to start with a disclaimer. I'm not a certified psychiatrist. I'm not a certified nutritionist. I created this framework. Anything you hear in this video will be for entertainment and educational purposes. If you have problems with your hormonal balance, experiencing symptoms, then by all means seek help from a professional. If you just want to live a life and maybe align your nutrition, your sleep, and your lifestyle with the framework I'm creating, then by all means do that. We also have a plan with Shubham. We're going to launch a website free of charge. Don't worry, we're not trying to sell you anything, where you can sign up if you're a subscriber to our channel. By the way, we have hit a milestone last week, having more than 400 subscribers, even though we have only started a couple of weeks ago. So thanks a lot. Your attention and your support means everything to us, and it means that the message will reach more and more people, and it gives us motivation to go forward. So I really do appreciate it. I have prepared a simplified presentation about this topic. I'm not even attempting to go into very low-level details, just a simplified view. And I've taken notes, but I will share that presentation with you via the website we're going to launch. So I'm not going to share my screen now, but instead we'll try to structure it. So there are, at least in this part, I would like to talk about 4 mood regulating or mood, stress, and sleep regulating hormones. The confusing part is that it's not even precise calling them hormones. I want to talk about serotonin, oxytocin, endorphin, and dopamine. And the funny thing is that 2 of those are actually peptides. The other 2 are neurotransmitters, also happen to be neuromodulators. I'll try to get into a little bit more details as we go along with this episode. Feel free to ask me any questions in the meantime to elaborate on something. Should I not know the answer or wouldn't be able to explain it in layman's terms, then no problem, we'll still upload the video, but then I will do it in the next episode. Let's start with serotonin. Let me give a very quick overview of what we're going to talk about. So serotonin, it's a happiness hormone or feel-good hormone that regulates our mood to some extent and our sleep. It acts as a neurotransmitter. In layman's terms, it's a chemical messenger. You and I both work in IT, so imagine that our system is sort of like a complex backend with different APIs.
Yeah.
And these are the key APIs that send messages and based on what triggers and interactions are happening, they will send different messages and regulate other interactions within the system. Just to give an IT analogy
Yeah, so
for
you
the
have
IT
explained
nerds
it
there.
like really well to me that I can understand, and maybe all the IT guys will also be understanding that. But yeah, I
To give,
get the gist of it. Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead. I get the gist of it. So how?
okay.
Yeah.
To let me try to come up with another analogy that is less nerdy. If you're driving a car, there are a lot of systems, especially if it's a modern car, that regulate your driving. Okay, so let's assume you have a combustion engine.
Okay.
You have a clutch, and depending on whether you use that clutch, slip the clutch, push it fully forward, it regulates the transmission.
Correct.
The gear you're in, if it's automatic, the machine will select it for you and it will operate the clutch invisibly. The gear will determine the ratio of the torque.
Mhm.
That also regulates the speed.
Yes.
But you can also regulate that speed and you can brake using the engine brake if you're not using the gas pedal. This is sort of how these peptides and neurotransmitters and neuromodulators work in our system. They potentiate each other or one another. And dopamine in particular and serotonin are neuromodulators, which basically means that they affect a larger number of neurons and transactions at the same time. So let's start with serotonin. Its roles, effects, and sleep regulation. It promotes wakefulness, as funny as it sounds, because if it can trigger the release of neurons that are active during wakefulness, and it can help us maintain an awake state. It can inhibit one part of our sleep, REM, because the serotogenic neurons are less active during REM sleep, which makes us believe that serotonin has a role in inhibiting that sleep stage. But it can also regulate sleep the other way, meaning that indirectly, but serotonin has a key role in the sleep onset and consolidation. Because in order to fall asleep, among other things, and I'm going to detail and dedicate an entire chapter about sleep hygiene and how sleep affects our metabolism, fat burning, mood, cognition, and hopefully I'll be able to invite a sleep expert to our channel to translate it to layman's terms, because I used to work with one. Anyway, getting back to the other side of it, so promoting sleep, serotonin or sufficient amount of serotonin signaling is required for melatonin production. Melatonin regulates our sleep-awake cycle. How does it interact with other neurotransmitters? It interacts with dopamine and norepinephrine. I'm not going to cover in this part norepinephrine because for the intents and purposes of this chapter, we won't cover norepinephrine, but serotonin, when it does not potentiate sleep and melatonin production, interacts with dopamine, which is another key hormone in stress reduction, reward chasing, feel good, and motivation. That the interaction with dopamine creates a state that makes you awake, focused. So if you're learning something that you're actually interested in, then the interaction between serotonin and dopamine makes it so that you will be fully focused and won't fall asleep during the class. It also regulates key hormones, which is why I selected it for this episode. Those key hormones are cortisol, prolactin, and it also regulates growth hormone secretion. Now, cortisol is one of our stress hormones. When you wake up suddenly, you have a cortisol hit. It has some beneficiary effects, but too much cortisol and the accumulation makes you very stressful. Prolactin, we like to think about as a hormone that is mainly important for females. in breastfeeding and other issues. I did not look into that role of prolactin too much, so I'm not going to talk about it. But it has another very important factor for all human beings. It regulates behavior, immune system, and metabolism. And also there's a balance between prolactin and the primary sex hormones in both males and females, testosterone and estrogen. High levels of prolactin usually brings down primary sex hormones. Okay, I hope it is clear, or I hope you can still follow. If not, I will try to I'll try to make it clean in the presentation that you will be able to upload. Now, why is it important for us? Because of mood regulation and our mindset and state of mind. So if you have a well-balanced and sufficient supply of serotonin, it's responsible for feeling happy, content with your life in general, or that feeling of contentment and overall well-being. It brings you into a positive mood and mindset. Certain studies also have shown that a well-regulated serotonin system is conducive of emotional stability. And if you have sufficient amount of serotonin and everything else in the system is fine as well, you're actually interested in what you're doing, or it's part of your reward system, then serotonin is responsible for your feeling of calm and being focused, which is why it's important for learning. Low levels of serotonin can cause depression, anxiety, irritability, aggression, very negative mood and mindset, usually in conjunction with reduced motivation, feeling lethargic. It can cause sleep disturbance because the fine balance of your sleep cycle can be upset, not just the REM sleep. You might have difficulty falling asleep, and people with a serotonin problem often report insomnia. There was a time in my life, actually twice, when I was suffering from insomnia. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And I managed to get out of it with basically just with therapy and lifestyle changes. It took me 4 weeks, and that 4 weeks was hell. But before you even ask a psychiatrist or a physician to prescribe you any kind of medication, unless you are deep in depression, I would highly advise to try to make the necessary dietary changes, lifestyle changes, maybe take some supplements, but even over-the-counter supplements can upset this fine balance, which is why it's important to have this kind of pyramid and mindset in mind, that at first get your mental health back, fix the basics of your nutrition, have good sleep hygiene, go to therapy, and if all that did not help enough, then try to get some supplements and medical help, unless you're in a crisis already.
Well,
Because
sorry, Matt, I have also faced insomnia, right?
no,
So I guess there are a lot of people
sorry, you're
that
breaking up.
so I also faced insomnia, right? And I actually tried like sleeping medicine as well to actually like to get proper sleep, right? So there are a lot of people out there who are actually experiencing that. So maybe like if you can tell more about that, how we can cure this.
As I said, absolutely. That's an intention of mine to help with that. I won't be able to do it in this episode because we will be talking about it for hours. As I said, one of the sub-pillars of the framework I created is dedicated to sleep. It is so important to have a good sleep hygiene routine, the right kind of nutrition, and have a balance that I can't emphasize it enough. And I've tried to invite a sleep expert or a sleep therapist expert. I used to work with her. She is a little bit shy, especially because English is not her first language. But I will try to work on her, and we will dedicate a couple of episodes about sleep hygiene. Don't worry. Here, let's just try to understand that serotonin is absolutely crucial. A healthy level and balance of serotonin in sleep regulation and wake regulation, and also having a good mindset and balance. If I get into more details with any of this, I can go down to rabbit holes, because there are a couple of other hormones, melatonin or GABA,
Mhm.
which is an amino acid, but I could dedicate just an episode on GABA and an episode on melatonin. So, which is why I am trying to keep it a little bit high level. So let's focus on just on a natural way of how to optimize or boost your serotonin levels naturally. Previously in this episode, I tried to emphasize that it is imperative that you try natural ways first. Why? Because this system it's really fine-tuned, and the moment you intervene harshly, focusing on one element,
Mhm.
it can upset the entire system of your neurology. So um, if you get serotonin syndrome because you have agonized your serotonin receptors too much, you will have very similar symptoms and side effects as low serotonin, and it's equally as bad. So, but if you do just these things that I'm recommending naturally, your body will be able to balance it out, assuming that everything else is working, right?
Yep.
So, the first one, and it's very ironic that I'm talking about this here in the UK, is exposure to sunlight. If you think about it, southern countries and southern people in general are very happy, very healthy. Why? Because they have a lot of exposure to sunlight. Um, Assuming enough protection with sunlight, you not only get vitamin D, but you secrete melanin as well. And just walking in the sun and being in a sunny place will make you happy. You will experience it yourself. So stop staying indoors all the time. Try to, every time when it is at least a little bit sunny outside, try to get a walk. Maybe try to get a dog. I will get, you will realize that sometimes that I will start promoting the same things over and over again because they have multiple benefits. One of them is having a dog because it not only will make you walk, which will also reduce your stress levels. You will have a meditative state, and it's very healthy for your body as well because it's a low intensity, steady state cardio. So you will burn a little bit more energy as well. So it will be easier to burn fat, but it will have multiple benefits. And it's a simple thing. And if you have a dog, you don't really have a choice. You need to walk it. Nutrition. So the precursor to serotonin production is something called tryptophan. You don't need to know what tryptophan is, and I'm not going to get into details about it, but naturally it can be found in poultry, fish, eggs, cheese, milk, almonds, peanuts, tofu, in oats, in banana, in pineapple. So out of this list, irrespective of what kind of diet you would like to follow, anyone can find something, right? The best way to consume these foods is if you combine a protein source with a carbohydrate source. Eat some yogurt with oats and pineapple, or salmon with rice, a little bit of lemon. I'd like to put lemon on it. And tofu, if you like. Even if you're vegetarian, you will find a way to construct a diet conducive and supportive of sufficient serotonin production because it will have enough tryptophan. The second way, or the second useful takeaway about serotonin is behavior. Try to practice a little bit of mindfulness and gratitude in order to embed it into your routine and make it really conscious. You can have a gratefulness journal, give thanks and praise people. In my management style, I'm never shy to give praise to people for, to some extent, selfish reasons because it gives me serotonin, but also because it motivates them. And because of my role in IT, if I can motivate my team and other people, they tend to work a little bit better, which is my goal. And then that's part of my tasks, right? They make if they are happy and if they are happy and can achieve more, it makes me look good. So that's the egoist or narcissist view of these things. Personally, I also include in my sleep routine some breath work and relaxation. Lay down in bed, close your eyes, try to relax a little bit, and then through your nose, have a slow breathe in. I count to 7, then keep the air in, count to 5, and slowly in between your lips, breathe out and count to 8. That's a cycle. Whilst you're doing it, I usually imagine that I'm walking in a lovely green field or having a hike in a mountain with Jimmy, and it's just beautiful and a little bit sunny. And that puts me in a very relaxive mindset. That way of breathing will also bring your heart rate down a little bit, and you start relaxing, and you're doing everything in order to potentiate the secretion of melatonin and trigger GABA transmission and relax, and then you will be able to fall asleep. I also do some gentle stretching and rehab work in bed. I'm not going to show you what that is because I don't think any of you or too many of you are recovering from hip replacement surgery, but I do that. The third behavior you can do in order to facilitate a healthy level of serotonin is aerobic exercises. My favorite aerobic exercise, I'm not going to say it on a YouTube channel, my second favorite aerobic exercise is is doing martial arts, especially light, playful sparring, but really, really fast and intense. That's great. And that's the best way to do it is through Kyokushin, of course, if you ask me. But if you don't like Kyokushin, you can also do running, swimming, cycling, more like jogging than running. Keep it moderate. And that's where it becomes two-way, the fourth. And that's why it's very difficult to talk about these things in isolation and try to just laser focus on one. Because if you have good sleep routines, the interaction is bidirectional, right? So if you get enough sleep, then you will have good serotonin levels. You will have high melatonin and will be able to relax. If you have good serotonin levels, then the sleep will be restful. If the sleep is restful, you will wake up refreshed. You will already set up to have a good mood. Great. Then you can do all of these things. Just on a very high level, because you were interested in sleep hygiene that much. As I said, I'm not going to get into details, but there are 3 key things about my sleep routine that I always follow. Keep your environment dark. And I've just started implementing something because it was hard for me to let it go. But I basically moved my phone charger into the kitchen, and I set the alarm on my Fitbit, so I'm not exposed to blue light because I'm not tempted to do social media or any kind of other things. If anything, I'll just read a book before I go to bed or whilst I'm in bed, and then I feel like, okay, I'm getting a little bit sleepy, then I start doing the stretching, the breath work, relax, I close my eyes, and then I fall asleep. Since I fixed my sleep hygiene, by the way, I have 4 full sleep cycles every single day, and my sleep requirement to feel refreshed shrunk. It's a bit more condensed. It's very interesting. But having a good sleep hygiene is absolutely essential. Going on to the next hormone I want to talk about is oxytocin. That's my favorite one. Calling it a hormone is actually a little bit misleading because it's a peptide, so much so that you can have a nasal spray and get oxytocin, or you can inject it with bacterial water. But when you do that, it doesn't have the same kind of effect that if you produce it naturally. Right, so oxytocin's role and effects. For women, oxytocin is used to start the contraction when they're and induce labor when they are giving birth, and it also stimulates milk production and ejection during breastfeeding. For us men, it has this element has not that much. It's not that interesting for us, but irrespective, oxytocin is really, really important because it has a role in social bonding. Oxytocin itself facilitates social interactions, trust, and attachment. And I would like to pause here because I will dedicate a chapter about attachment styles. And Oxytocin is a peptide or a hormone, if you like, that is quite crucial, not just in bonding in a parent-child relationship, especially mother and infant, but also in romantic relationships. And I would like to promote someone here. If you have an insecure attachment style, be it disorganized, anxious, or avoidant, I highly recommend that you check out at least the YouTube channel of Adam Lane Smith. He talks in depth about oxytocin in a very scientific manner, and he breaks down the entire behavior and attachment style problem to something that is very logical, systematic, and easy to understand. And the reason it is I want you to check him out is not because I receive any kickbacks. I don't. He speaks the language of avoidance, and I think if you're an avoidant, at least you might be curious about that. Okay. People who suffer from an anxious attachment style, on the other hand, like I was, often have an over-functioning oxytocin receptor. I'm not going to get into details about that again because I would be able to talk about it for hours, but there might be comorbidities like codependency and a false self, which is why people with social anxiety and having an anxious attachment style usually have an over-functioning oxytocin receptor because they always want to co-regulate. They don't want to. It's not that they don't want to, but it's very difficult for someone with an anxious attachment style to regulate him or herself on their own. And the core wound and trigger is the fear of abandonment. I'm drifting away already. Shut me down, Shubham.
I was just listening, so you can go ahead.
No, it's just I love this topic. I'm fascinated. I'm still researching everything today, almost like a maniac. But with this, I can go down to so many rabbit holes about sleep, about GABA, about everything else, the interactions, then attachment styles, because everything is intertwined.
Yes.
Human nature, human body is a system. Nothing lives in isolation. Anyway, another important role. Thank God I created notes for myself. And it's very important for us blokes as well. Oxytocin plays a key role in sexual arousal, especially during foreplay. And most females get aroused through the oxytocin pathway. The pink cloud and that extremely high sex drive is dopamine driven. But dopamine fades out because it comes from novelty and sort of like the challenge, the how new the relationship and exploring each other. So it fades out after 4, 6, 8 months. But oxytocin, if you're able to create an oxytocin bonding with your partner, that can help in the bedroom. Let's just leave it at that. And it also, oxytocin itself is also reduces anxiety. Now, I know what most of you are thinking. Oxytocin can be found in nasal sprays and in a peptide. You can inject it. Don't inject your partner with oxytocin to have sex. It doesn't work like that. Sorry, I just couldn't help myself. Okay, mood regulation of oxytocin. Oxytocin can promote feelings of well-being, a very warm feeling, trust, and social sensitivity. An optimized and good supply of oxytocin is conducive of empathy. So if you have enough oxytocin supply and you're not a caveman or you're not really isolated on your own, then because you're bonding and there's a psychological and behavioral element to this, this is just the underlying chemistry, if you like, or chemical explanation or neuro explanation. It increases empathy. The way how you trigger oxytocin, one way of it is through physical touch, and which is why I mentioned foreplay. So if you give your partner a gentle, nice massage, start stroking her, that's when oxytocin is released, or that's one way. Oxytocin is also very important in stress regulation. Those of you who are who were suffering from, apart from all the other comorbidities and my baggage, um, an anxious attachment style, um, you really want to co-regulate, because when you are with your partner and you get that oxytocin, it reduces stress. So, and oxytocin can not only reduce stress, but reduce anxiety on its own and promote relaxation. There's some research about it reducing cortisol levels as well.
Okay.
Oxytocin, on the other hand, modulates emotional responses, and sort of affects the way individuals perceive and process emotions. What does that mean? If you have oxytocin bonding with the person, it means ideally it's bi-directional, so it's not only you giving, but the other is capable of receiving and giving.
Correct.
The way how you perceive that individual's actions will be in a positive light. If there's some sort of life stress around, if you're doing it together and you're oxytocin bonded, then the presence or just the gentle stroke your partner gives you will trigger an oxytocin response from you, and that will enable you to handle emotional stress much better. Simply that environment. Oxytocin can play a role in cognitive control over emotions, and there are a lot of studies that have shown that both in post-traumatic stress disorder and complex post-traumatic stress disorder, sufficient, I wouldn't say oxytocin treatment, because it sounds like as if, again, the nasal spray and the injection has a very short-term effect, and because it's not coming naturally, plus there's no neurorewiring, and it's a very artificial injunction in the system, it's way less efficacious. But ideally, good oxytocin bonding and relationships are influencing our processing in the brain and help that rewiring, helping the treatment of PTSD and CPTSD. And I can testify to that because I was treated with CPTSD, which I no longer have. So it's not I do have a personal experience. Mood regulation and insufficient oxytocin. Lack of oxytocin can give you symptoms of irritability. Hello, Jimmy. And feeling less affectionate. I have to divert here a little bit because if you check out Adam Lane Smith's work, not The Economist, but the relationship coach, and I think he's a psychiatrist as well, they found that most avoidance, because of their upbringing, doesn't really use the oxytocin receptors and that pathway to regulate stress, which explains their behavior, because if you are lacking oxytocin, then it makes it so that it's very difficult for you to feel affectionate. Lack of oxytocin definitely can lead to much higher levels of anxiety or feeling anxious. Lack of oxytocin might lead to difficulties achieving orgasm. It can disturb sleep, and so it's really fixing your oxytocin pathways and regulations are absolutely crucial. What can you do in order to naturally boost your oxytocin? I talked about physical touch, hugging, hand-holding loved ones, cuddling, love cuddling, spending quality time with your friends and family, having in-depth conversations with people within your circle of trust. If you think about what I said in the beginning of this episode about oxytocin of love, attachment, and trust, the practice of these activities raise your oxytocin levels. Practicing act of kindness and generosity, not in order to share it on social media and brag about it, unless you're a narcissist, and then it will come as a form of narcissistic supply, but just for the sake of it, will raise your oxytocin levels. Having a dog and cuddling them and petting them releases oxytocin, which reduces the stress and anxieties. I'm not sure if I've told this to anyone already in the show, but if you can responsibly look after a dog, get a dog. It will really help you. The other way how it will help you if you have a dog, and why it was really crucial having Jimbo in my life, and why he helped my emotional well-being so much, is because dogs also symbolize undying loyalty and unconditional love.
Yes.
Which you otherwise would only get from your mother. Fathers tend to, we love our offspring, but the bond is not as strong as an infant's bond with their mother, because it's less oxytocin based, and in evolutionary psychology, a father's role is a little bit different. It's not that I don't love our kids, I do, but it's not an absolute unconditional love. Unconditional love, so if you go to mythology, the symbolism, we say Mother Earth, it's always a feminine figure. Anyway, I go down another rabbit hole again, so I'm sorry, I digress. Doing inner child work, it can also, to give you a practical example, when I realized that it was my inner child that was mainly wounded and needed all this kind of oxytocin bonding and cuddling and did not feel secure, and that's why I needed a lot of external validation, I started imagining that I can talk to that little child who was once me and who also lives in my psyche. And when I felt anxious and I sort of consciously realized that it is him, I imagined actually holding him. And I touched myself here, and I closed my eyes, and I imagined cuddling him and talking to him. And based on the feeling I had, I'm 90% certain that even that triggered an oxytocin release in me. And that's consistent with the works and testimonies of therapists who specialize in inner child work. If you listen to slow, relaxing music, love songs, that creates, again, a little bit of oxytocin release. If you sing together with others, trust, bonding, safe environment, conducive of oxytocin release. Relaxing exercises, yoga, massage, with or without the super finish. Sorry, we probably need to cut this out. Will release oxytocin. Spending time outdoors, especially if you go to nice natural reserves, will have a positive impact on your mood anyway, and will raise your oxytocin levels. So if I have not mentioned it before, I'll mention it now, because it's only the 5th time. Get a dog. It will help your mood, and it will help your oxytocin balance. Okay, the nutritional side of things. Now, nutrition is having the right kind of food, and nutrition is required for your body to produce oxytocin. So if your diet consists of pizza, Doritos, and beer, then eventually you will develop all kinds of psychological issues on top of insulin issues, higher body fat, anxiety, higher blood pressure. So in order to be able to produce oxytocin, you need sufficient amount of magnesium. What contains magnesium? Spinach, pumpkin seeds, avocado, and dark chocolate. Now, dark chocolate, eat it with moderation, because it also has dopamine, by the way, but and by dark chocolate, I mean at least 70% cocoa base, so it's a little bit bitter. I even know that I'm cutting every second day. I have 2 squares of dark chocolate in my diet, because I need that. Foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids, like salmon, I love it, mackerel, sardines, or if you're a vegan, flax seeds, chia seeds might have some omega-3. The presentation I'm going to upload will contain the vegan foods as well, because the reason I'm struggling with it is I've never ever been a vegetarian or a vegan, so I can't just rely on my own personal experience and, okay, how to construct a healthy diet. Foods rich in vitamin D, again, fatty fish, egg, yolks, and fortified dairy products. probiotic-rich foods, yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, lean meats, eggs, beans, and legumes. And again, on the vegetarian side, if you combine it with banana, certain nuts, beans, and legumes, it will be even better. So you can see a pattern here that if you have a good, healthy diet, which is relatively high in natural protein, fish, poultry, and you combine it with healthy sources of carbohydrate and have some fruits, the reason other than it being healthy and filling and conducive of maintaining a healthy level of body fat, on top of that and the vitamin content aside, that healthy diet will give you everything you need to in order to produce your happiness hormones. So the reason I created the entire framework I have with pillars that are intertwined is because if you don't have a healthy nutrition, you will develop all kinds of issues downstream. If you don't have healthy sleep, you will develop. So you need, at least at a fundamental level, a good sleep routine, exercise routine, nutrition. You don't have to go all in as I did, but hopefully you're not as effed up as I was. But at the very least, just have a healthy diet, healthy bedtime routine, a healthy mental diet, practice acts of kindness. If you don't have a pet and you're responsible and realize that your lifestyle doesn't allow having a dog or a cat, then visit shelters, seek out friends who have pets and pet them regularly. It will make you happy. On top of the oxytocin release, the pet will be grateful.
Yes.
Unless it's a certain type of cat. But you get what I'm saying. So the good thing with the advice I'm trying to add here is you can't F up your entire system with it, because just because you're eating healthy or practicing good behaviors, listen to a kind of music and consciously trying to get in a relaxed, happy, nice mental state. With these kind of interventions, it's not like taking an SSRI where you can F up your entire system and I wouldn't say for good, but dig yourself into a hole, or an even bigger hole than the one you were in the first place, because your body, assuming that it's healthy by default, is going to balance itself out. So some of the symptoms of low oxytocin and serotonin is that you start developing cravings. And the kind of foods you will crave, although there's an unhealthy part of it, which is why you want to fix it, is you will start craving certain carbohydrates, sugars, fruits, and under certain circumstances, unfortunately, alcohol, because what your body needs is, hey, I need to regulate stress and I can't produce enough serotonin. My GABA is effed up. Part of the reason why people go for alcohol. The problem with it is that if you go for alcohol, temporarily you will get that fix and you will get relaxed, and that's nice. But as you go through the withdrawal and the alcohol empties the system, the feedback loop will F up your sleep. You will have all kinds of other issues the other day, which is why I highly recommend that have just the fundamentals or foundations right in your diet, have a good sleep routine, and practice these kind of behaviors, and you're golden, assuming that everything else is right. I think I've been talking for an hour now, so
Yes.
probably it's better if we cut this off now and then get back to the other two hormones. I shouldn't be calling them hormones, but for simplicity's sake, let's call them that in the next episode. In the meantime, if you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit on that bell button so you get a notification when we release a new video. Stay healthy, stay sane.
Yes.
Try to be happy. And God bless you all.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you. Bye.
The pain I felt is paid for, all is said and done. Oh, I am restricted, fixed upon the web. I need to kick the habit that my mind is breathing.